Welcome back to the Talking with Taylor podcast. I'm your host, Taylor, where we talk with anyone about anything, and hopefully everyone around the table will listen. And so we're on site today with our podcast. I'm very excited. And so we are at the comic strip in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and I'm here today with the owner, Mr. Justin Snipes. Justin, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, happy to.
This is one of my favorite places in Tuscaloosa, probably my dad's favorite place in Tuscaloosa. He loves this place. And I've kind of grown up into comics, into the Marvel world and the DC world because of my dad. And my dad, that's really how he learned to read. And so why are comics so special to you too?
Well, because I've been reading comics and loving them since I was 8 years old. I'm 36 now.
Yeah.
It's how I learned to read. It's where I learned, right from wrong,
Yeah.
honestly. It taught me more morality than most of my schooling, parents, any of that.
Yeah.
It's the modern day mythology.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think comics really can play a great role in a kid's life, and it definitely did in your life, sounds like, and it did in my dad's life as well. And growing up, seeing my dad with these comics, and I got to dive into them and just love them as well, and still do. And now my son, he's gonna I'm gonna have my whole collection one day, and so it's really cool. So Justin, tell our listeners a little bit about how you became the owner of the comic strip and such a iconic place in Tuscaloosa. How did you become the owner of it?
Well, the store was established in 1992.
Okay.
And I actually worked here when I was about 17.
Okay.
Roughly 2005-ish.
Yeah.
But I worked here with a guy who managed at the time, a guy named DC Moon.
Okay.
Wonderful fellow.
Yeah.
Super kind to me. I miss him every day. But after a while, I left because he was unceremoniously let go by the original owner.
Yeah.
And then I came back when a friend of mine from high school said, "I'm getting into comics. Will you
Okay.
help me?" So I came back up here just to help him out, to look around, and that led into becoming friends with the owner at the time,
Yeah.
who decided he wanted to get out of it, and I bought it.
Wow.
And that was in 2016.
Oh, and that really kind of lined up, and you became the owner, and man, have done a great job with it. And I love what you do for charity too. You think outside the box. It's not just about, it is a business, but you also think about how can I invest in the community. And I think that's a great business model. Is say, hey, look, we're not just going to invest in customers, which you do, but you invest in charities, and I think that is an incredible thing. So I'm obviously wanting to tell a great story here of the comic strip, but also doing a great plug for the comic strip too, because not many other stores, not many other businesses in town are running a business that is also saying, hey, we're going to support charity. And so I think that is a great thing that you do. And so throughout the year, you do a couple events for charity. And so what are some of those events you do?
Well, one of our biggest partners is Turning Point, Alabama. It's the domestic violence shelter here. And our working with them is the brainchild of the manager here, Eli Ray, one of my very best friends in the world. And she started our Wonder Woman Day event, which is one of our 3 biggest events of the year. And that's when we directly help Turning Point.
Yeah.
We also work with them during Christmas. We're doing their Santa Sleigh thing now, where you adopt a family and get them stuff.
Yeah.
And for this year, we've partnered with Good Vibes Tattoos.
Okay, yeah.
Great local place.
Yeah.
They're helping us with the family that we've adopted for Christmas. And I mean, we also work with Tuscaloosa Metro Animal Shelter.
Yeah.
Because dogs are adorable.
Yeah,
Cats are adorable.
That's right.
Most adorable animals, believe it or not, are adorable.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and in the name, I agree, man. And that, was that Batman Day?
Yes, okay. we partnered with them for Batman Day for sure, because those are orphan dogs, and Batman is also an orphan, and we find that darkly hilarious.
Well, I think that it tells the story of helping the charity. I think that's really, really cool, man. And my wife and I, we adopted a dog from the shelter, Penny, which she passed away a couple months ago. But they do some great work, and I think it's really, really cool that you are willing to invest in some great charities around town. And so, well, Justin, as we are, diving into kind of what you do and the history of you purchasing the store, I think if you've come to Tuscaloosa, you've passed the comic strip at some point. And so there's a lot of historical things about this store that have kind of stood the test of time. And so can you share with our listeners and viewers on YouTube kind of the history of the comic strip.
Sure. Well, it was made in 1992.
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier. That's right.
No, I mean that pretty much covers it. The store's been here for 30 years.
Yeah.
And since I've had it in 2016 is the history I'm most familiar with, and that's just been trying to, I love comic books.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah.
And so getting to share these stories that mean so much to me with people, whether they've been reading for 50 years or they've never touched a comic in their life, is one of my favorite things.
Well, I think that is, to me, that's bigger than just owning a business, right? You can own a business to make money all you want, but when there's a purpose behind it, I mean, that goes a long way. And, they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I think that'd probably be true with what you do, man. You love what you do, and we love what you do for sure. And so, well, as we kind of near the end here, I think one of the coolest questions that I think we could ask, especially if our listeners love comic books, people want to know, like, what's the most valuable comic you've ever held in your hand or purchased? And so what's the most valuable comic you've ever purchased and sold? And then we'll make it twofold. Which is the one most valuable comic you've ever just held in your hand? So
sure. The most valuable comic that I've ever had personally in the store was an X-Men #1.
Okay.
From the original first appearance.
Wow.
And that one sold for a combined price of the trade-in value and the cash that was brought in for around $15,000 or so.
That's incredible. And to think about that too, and put things in perspective, you're coming up almost on your 10-year anniversary here in a little bit, and so within 10 years, that's a pretty unique, expensive comic to have come through in that short amount of time as well. And so, that's really cool. Okay, so the second question is, what's the most valuable comic you've ever just held in your hands?
It's a Detective Comics.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact number. I'm terrible with numbers, but I know the covers like the back
Yeah,
of my
yeah.
hand. But it's the original Golden Age origin of the Joker when he was the Red Hood.
Yeah.
And that comic was graded, and that copy was worth, I believe, $55,000.
Wow. That's incredible. That is an insane amount and insanely valuable. And so one of the things I just kind of thought about was this. So you got your readers, then you got your collectors, and so it's a market for both. And so I'm more of the, I guess, the collector side of it, just because of I love the covers, like you said. And that's kind of, I love how the artwork looks and all that, but also the value in them too, And so there's always going to be a market for comics, I believe. And but man, I just, what would you say? What's some advice you'd give to a young collector if they're listening right now?
Well, the most important thing beyond collecting what's expensive or what's popular, the most important thing is to collect what you like. Because if you're collecting something just for the intrinsic value in the future, then it's like trading stocks on the stock market. But if you collect the things you like, then there's an element of love to it.
Right.
My favorite book that I own is a $10 book that was autographed for me at Dragon Con a few years back. It's the first appearance of a character named Ambush Bug. He's actually on my shirt, faded though it is.
It's all right.
But I mean, it's a nothing book, but I love that character.
Yeah.
And it makes me happy.
Well, and you make a great point, because the intrinsic value that you mentioned, they can go up and down, regardless, right? The new Marvel movie comes out, it's probably can go up. It's bottom line. But if you love it, if it is special to you, the value for you, you can't even really put a number on it, right? And so that's really cool, Justin. And so, well, Justin, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
been really cool. And I would just want to encourage you listeners, come stop by. If you've never come in the store, it's just, there's some nostalgia to it because it's been since '92, right? And so since '92, the year I was born, and so there's some nostalgia. But man, it's just a special place, especially in Tuscaloosa. If you live in Tuscaloosa and you haven't come by here yet, what are you waiting for? You need to come by and check it out, buy some comics, and meet Justin, right? And so thankful for you, man. And so listeners, thank you so much for listening today to the Talking with Taylor podcast.